The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, Sandy Vicani here with Insurance Agency Marketing. Thank you so much for attending this morning. Just so greatly appreciate you taking time out of your Monday morning to attend what we truly believe is such an important webinar with National Guardian Life. So again, my name is Sandy Vicani and I head up the Life Division here at IAMS. A couple things I'm going to go over before we start our webinar. And here at IAMS, we have something called a IAMS Business Builder, and what that is when you refer an agent over to us and that agent gets contracted, you get $50 that we'll send out to you for referring that agent. When that same agent writes and places business with us, and that's life, annuity, MedSup, combination thereof, we pay you 20 basis points on each piece of placed business that that agent writes. And that's indefinite. That's as long as they continue to write and place business with us, you're getting that 20 basis point override. That doesn't come out of your commission. It doesn't come out of that agent's commission. That comes from IAMS, and that's just a big thank you for entrusting us with that agent. We also have for all agents something called a marketing reimbursement account. So kind of think of this as a savings account for business expenses. For every $100,000 of premium that you place with us, we put $100 in that marketing reimbursement account, and that continues to build. It carries over each year, and it sits there until you're ready to use it. So if you have a business expense, for example, a computer, a seminar system, whatever the case may be, submit that invoice. We pay up to 50% of that invoice as long as that money is sitting there in your account. We also have something for new agents it's called a new producer builder. So your first 6 months of getting contracted with us is when you're eligible for this. And so when you place $100,000 of premium with us, in your first 6 months, you can choose a 2-year producer website, or you can choose a $750 cash bonus. If you'd like to hold off because you think, gosh, I'm going to place $300,000 of business with IAMS in my first 6 months, you can choose a $1,500 gift card. You can choose a $2,000 to be deposited in that marketing reimbursement account that I just spoke about, or you can choose a Social Security program and 3,000 piece mailing. If you'd like to hold off because you think, gosh, I'm going to go gangbusters here in my first 6 months, place $500,000 of business with IAMS, and again, that's life, annuity, MedSup, combination thereof, you can choose a 4,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with a top producer of ours, Dave Pimper, a 5,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with another top producer of ours, Matt Gill. Or you can choose my favorite, and I say it every single time, so any of you webinar fans out there that come to my webinars, you'll hear me say this, and I truly mean it. My absolute favorite is the Ritz-Carlton Travel Rewards package, where you plan your own getaway. And again, that's just as a big thank you from IAMS to you. So back office support, so important, especially if you don't have a brick and mortar office and you don't have that admin help. So what we've done here at IAMS is we've tried to build a strong back office support to save you time, whether that's starting you with a paperless contracting. You fill out contracting paperwork once, submit it, and any carrier you'd like to get contracted with in the future, just give us a call and we'll get that completed for you. We have great case design assistance, from running quotes for your life and annuities, sending out forms, different building business tools and resources. And really important out of all this is the submission to commission. And so what I mean by that is when you submit a piece of business with IAMS, we scrub that application, make sure nothing is missing, give you a call, let you know that we received it, get any additional information we need from you, order any exams and labs, and submit it to the carrier that same day. We've touched that case every 3 days. We're looking at that, making sure it stays on track to get out the door and paid to you just as quickly as possible. So we have our creative team here, and again, if you listen to our webinars, you know I'm just so impressed with our creative marketing team. So whether you're speaking to Jacob or whether you're speaking to Sean, they can help you with different handouts and flyers. If you see our Life and Annuity Academy book, they create that. They do our newsletters. They can do your newsletters, different logo designs. If you have a logo and it needs to be refreshed, or if you don't have a logo, we can create that for you. Again, online newsletters, website. If you don't have one, we'll create and manage that for you. Social media, if you'd like to advertise on Facebook and you're just not sure how, give us a call. Jacob and Sean will be more than happy to help you with that. We have a strong website. If you're not registered, you should be, you need to be, and that is www.iamsinc.com. And this is the website I go to every day. So when you call me up and ask me for a term or UL quote, or a form, this is exactly where I go. So this is available to you 24/7. Again, you can run your own term, UL quotes, you can pull forms, you can look at current industry links and news. You can pull up the top 5 annuity grid for MIGAs. You can pull up our webinar schedule. If you want to look at our webinar calendar, it's on our website. Any recorded webinars, you just click on the link. You can go to all of our recorded webinars that we have. Different training and support, you can go to, we have a link out there if you're looking for new E&O, or you want to or you don't have E&O, click on that link. You can see how much it costs for you. About $1 million in coverage is right around $450 a year, so pretty inexpensive. And then we have our sales resource library, great educational area for you to look at recorded videos on buy, sell, key man, premium financing, indexed annuities, when income riders. So great opportunities on our website. Again, if you're not registered, you need to be registered. If you have questions on doing that, I'll be happy to help you. So I'm going to put a poll question out there. By checking yes, you're just asking for additional information. So when the DOL ruling came out, we here at IAMS thought it was really important to make sure our agents were able to capture as much revenue as possible without their clients going outside of that circle. And so what we did is created IAMS Wealth Management. And the reason for that is to increase your revenue, whether it's through managed money fees. It does improve your client retention because they're not going outside of you. You're able to offer a full range of products and services. And then, of course, you're viewed differently by your clients. You're viewed now as a fiduciary. If anyone thinks that this DOL ruling is going away, it is not. It has changed several times. It has, we've had portions of it rescinded. But again, there's still a lot of changes here. So check yes on that poll question. We'll get you out information. If you have a Series 65, we can help transfer everything over for you. If you don't have a Series 65 and you're wondering what you can do without getting one to capture some of that revenue, check yes. We'll go over that with you to make sure that you're not missing any additional income. We also have, which I'm really excited about, is our IAMS Life and Annuity Academy. This is industry recognized, and what we do is an all-day, 2-day training. We cover all the expenses from your airfare, lodging, meals. The one that we have coming up is March 13th through the 15th in Dallas, Texas. And what we do is we pull agents from all over the United States. We pull top producers that go over different sales ideas and strategies, John Enting being one of them. We go over different indexed annuities and unravel them and find out when's a great time to use one, when's a good time to turn on, an income rider, different annuity and life and annuity industry threats and trends. We'll go over turnkey seminar systems and what works best in your area. whether it's coffee and cookies in a library or your more formal sit-down seminar where you serve a meal. We go over large life case marketing, single premium life, private financing, that infinite banking, different insurance concepts, wealth transfer tools. Can't stress enough what a great opportunity it is for you to attend. Again, checking yes, we'll just get some information from you, make sure it's a good fit. And again, we pay for everything. It's a great opportunity. Close to 1,000 agents register. We choose between 35 and 40. So in addition to the carriers and their high commission and the incentives that they offer, we here at IAMS thought it was really important to give our agents a great trip as well. And so what we have is our IAMS 2019 Marketing Summit, and that will be in Naples, Florida at the Great Ritz-Carlton. Gosh, you cannot get better than that. We want as many agents and their guests to attend, and so we have long invitational periods. We start January 1st, 2018, and go all the way out to June 30th, 2019. And you and a guest could get there with just a combination of $3 million of placed annuity premium, $1.5 million of Medicare Sup premium, $2.25 of single premium life, $250,000 of life target premium, or $600,000 of long-term care premium. Again, if you'd like to attend this for you and a guest, the only way to make sure that you're there is to get contracted, write, and place business here at IAMS. So what I'm going to do now is hand it over to John Enting. Again, when I mentioned the Life and Annuity Academy and having a top producer there, he is that for sure. He knows this National Guardian product inside and out, and I just really look forward to each and every one of you hearing his presentation. John?
Good morning, Sandy. Thank you. I appreciate the introduction. Good morning, everybody, on a cold Monday morning here in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for taking time out of your business to attend this webinar. First of all, I'd like to start out just by telling you that I own a practice here in Columbus, Ohio. I've been doing this for about 30 years now, so I am in the field each and every week, being productive, writing business, bringing on new clients. And the reason I feel that's important to share with you is I'm not sitting in the National Guardian Life home office just trying to tell you about their product. This is a product that we use in our practice week in and week out, share it with our clients and share it with agents across the country because we believe it's very important to have in your portfolio to be able to offer to your clients. So what we'll cover today, we'll talk about the opportunity with National Guardian Life. We'll talk about the trust that they use that are no cost to the client. We'll talk about the product we use to fund that trust. I'll give you a few presentation ideas and tools that you can use immediately in your practice. And we'll talk about the company itself, National Guardian Life, and the value-added things that they bring to the agents that are out in the field. So the opportunity was brought to me about 14 years ago by a mentor of mine. At the time, I didn't know anything about a funeral trust or an estate planning trust. I'd never even heard of National Guardian Life. But my mentor said, hey, you need to start talking about this. So being the entrepreneur that I am, I saw it as an opportunity. So I started talking to my clients and sharing it with them and writing applications. And lo and behold, here we are 14 years later sharing it with agents across the country. So very excited about that. We've helped a lot of agents implement this into their business, and they've thanked us for that opportunity, and that's what I'm going to share with you here today. So we all know we're in the planning business of some sort, whether you're doing annuities or life insurance or estate planning, and we're trying to help clients plan for those significant events that are in their lives. And in order to make that happen, we have to show them what their options are. We have to show them how to plan for that particular event, and then we have to show them where to get the money from to be able to pay for the services that we provide to them. And funeral and final expenses aren't any different. Someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bill. And that question is who and when. And it'll either be your client prior to their death, getting their affairs in order, or it'll be like a situation that was put upon me in my life. It'll be the survivors afterwards. And so just a little background on me. I'm the youngest of 5 children. I've always been the entrepreneur in the family. If anything ever goes south or there's any problems, my phone is the one that rings to get my input. And that's what happened to me on January 21st of 2011. My father passed away. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2. I wasn't super close with my dad, so we didn't ever have any conversations about what would happen if he passed away and how would the bills be paid. And so I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and I was getting asked questions like, what was your dad's mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? What was his favorite flower, his favorite hymn? And these were all questions that, to be quite frank with you, I didn't have the answers to those. But what it made me quickly realize is that everything that I had been doing for my clients up to that point, I was taking their family out of the situation that I had been put into that day. And it was simply by giving them a choice. They could either go to the funeral home and plan and pay for their funeral, and that's called the pre-need side. And NGL offers that through funeral homes, or they could set aside money with us to pay for the anticipated expenses, and that would be the final expense side of things. And that's what I'll talk to you about today, is offering the NGL product basically as a final expense plan, but protecting the asset for the client as you're working with them. So I always like to ask our clients how much they think a funeral cost. We hear numbers all over the board. We'll hear them anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. The reality is the typical cost for funeral services and a burial is about $15,000. I just had a client whose dad passed away a couple months ago, and she said it was closer to $16,000. Again, they're doing the full, the showing, the viewing, the party afterwards, everything. So we also hear a lot about people telling us now that they're going to be cremated. And while that's fine, we still share with them that fire costs money, and they're going to charge you for a cremation. And so we're typically seeing with a client who wants to be cremated, we're setting aside somewhere around $5,000 in a plan for them, not only to take care of the cremation, but also to take care of any services that they might want to have before or after the cremation. So we'll ask our clients, if something happened to you yesterday, how would your funeral be paid for today? And the important thing to that is you have to listen to their answers, because you're going to hear everything from, oh, I have an old paid up life insurance policy, or my daughter knows I have a $15,000 CD over at the bank. Those are important answers that when they give you the answer, you really need to comprehend what they're saying to you, because later on in your presentation with them, you're going to be able to put that right back on the table and create a sale for you and solve a problem for them at the same time. So what is the opportunity for you? A national survey was done, and 72% thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% of the people had not taken the steps to do so. So one thing we know for sure, your clients aren't any different than the ones that we're dealing with. And we feel the reason that they don't take that final step to get the plan done is most people think they have to go to a funeral home to get that accomplished. And rarely does a husband wake up and look at his wife on a beautiful day and go, hey, babe, let's go down and pick our caskets out today. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide a solution where they don't even have to leave the house, but they can feel good knowing that they've got their plan in place by the time we get done working with them. And this market is huge. I was on a sales conference. I took my son with an annuity company a couple years ago, and he said to me as the agents were walking through the reception, he looked at me and said, Dad, you're not the young guy in the room anymore, are you? And I said, no, I'm not anymore. And I'm looking at all these young guys that are in the business now. And let me tell you what, this market is big. And on the next slide, you're going to see that over the next 20 years, 80 million people are expected to file for Social Security benefits. And so by 2025, there's going to be almost twice as many seniors or prospects as we have today. And I don't care what age you are, if you're in this business for the long haul, you got to be excited about the numbers that we're going to be working with, because that's going to give you a lot of opportunity to share this program with a lot of people. You also have to consider that 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need some type of nursing care. And the national average cost of long-term care is $68,000 to $78,000 per year, which we need to up this slide because it's more like $78,000 to $88,000 now. And so when we start talking about National Guardian Life with our clients, we will ask them this. We will say to them, hey, you know what? 93% of people in the country don't have any type of protection from a long-term care facility. Where do you fall? Are you in the 93% or in the 7%? The majority are going to tell you they're in the 93%. And so we'll tell them that, hey, if you need to qualify at some point for a long-term care stay, they're going to make you spend all of your assets down until you qualify for Medicaid. And so what we do is we share with them how we can help them protect money from that nursing home cost and be able to also solve a problem to take care of their final expenses at the same time. So how it all fits together is we take that financial protection of life insurance and we're going to combine it with an irrevocable funeral trust. It's going to allow our clients to plan ahead. So we're going to tell them we're going to set this money aside permanently. It is an irrevocable trust. So once the money goes in, it's only going to come out when they pass away. So be cognitive of that and make sure it's money your clients are not going to need, but that they are planning on using for their final expenses. And then we're going to take that trust and we're going to hold that money for the funeral expenses. And what we've effectively done is we've spent that asset down for Medicaid consideration. So in other words, if they need long-term care and they can't pay for it and they have to spend their assets, this particular money will be protected from the nursing home spend down. So the trusts themselves that we use with National Guardian Life, they have a lot of benefits to them. Number one, they're irrevocable. So again, I say this because we stress this with every client that these are irrevocable trusts. But what it does by putting it in the irrevocable trust is it gives us protection from creditors. The benefits are going to pay out 100% income tax free. The funds will be available immediately to take care of their funeral. The trusts are free. This is important because I work with an elder law attorney that has an office down the street from me. And if you want to go into him and protect some money from a Medicaid spend down situation, he'll be happy to do an irrevocable trust for you. It's $7,500 to start the party, and then we'll figure out how much more it costs from there. So everyone is going to qualify for the trust assignment. Those death proceeds are going to be used for their funeral expenses so we don't have any probate costs or delays. And here's something that's really important. The funds are totally portable, and here's what I mean by that. If I live here in Columbus, Ohio, and I go prepay at Shettinger Funeral Home, which is a big funeral home chain in our community, and then my kids take my grandkids and move to Florida, and we decide that we want to follow them down there and live out our retirement, well, if we die down in Florida, they got to get us back up here to Shettinger, and that's not cheap. So with this plan, because we're not naming any particular funeral home, those funds are totally portable. In other words, it doesn't matter where you're at in the U.S. If you buy a plan in Ohio and you end up retiring in New Orleans, then your plan is good down there. You just take it into any funeral home and they're going to accept the plan. So on the next slide, you're going to see we put together, this is how trusts compare to your traditional savings instruments. And I'll just let you look at that for a moment. But what I like to concentrate on is if we look at the irrevocable funeral trust and we go across the board on the bottom, we're hitting a yes in every category that we're looking for when we're trying to protect money. So how the trust works is pretty simple, and the nice thing about the next slide is you're going to have the availability once you're licensed with National Guardian Life. They have a PowerPoint presentation that's very simple to use with a client-facing appointment, and this slide is part of it. So if I'm sitting there talking to a client, I'm sharing this with it. I'm saying, hey, look, we're just going to take money that you are planning to pay for your final expenses with, and we're going to put it into a life insurance policy. Now, this life insurance policy is going to be assigned to an irrevocable funeral trust 45 days after it is issued. And what's going to happen at that point is that money is going to sit in there, and it's going to earn simple interest credited daily until it is needed for your funeral. At the time you pass away, within 48 hours, National Guardian Life is going to send that money directly to the funeral home provider, and whatever the funeral cost, that money will be used to pay for the funeral. If there are any excess funds, that money has to be paid back to the estate. And the reason for that is we were trying to protect this money from a nursing home, and we didn't want you to have any incidents of ownership to the money. So we have to pay it back to your estate, anything that's left over that you don't use for your funeral. So there's two types of trust with NGL. The first one is the funeral expense trust. I'll talk about Ohio, and then I see we have a lot of people on the conference call today, so we'll show you a slide of every state in the country so you can get an idea what your minimums and maximums are. But the maximum in Ohio is $15,000. So if I'm setting up a funeral expense trust for a client, and I know funerals on average today are $15,000, I'm going to tell them that they need to put the maximum in there, because what's going to happen is we're going to protect the money day one. So we have the ability to help exclude the asset to qualify for Medicaid when applying immediately. Now, this elder law attorney I work with, it's not unusual for him to call me and say, hey, I brought on a new client. We're going to be trying to qualify for Medicaid at the end of the month. I want you to put $15,000 for each spouse into the National Guardian Life Funeral Expense Trust so we can get that $30,000 off the table immediately. And then again, what will happen is the trust will pay the funeral cost with any excess funds going back to the estate of the insured. Now, sometimes you'll meet with a client and you'll ask them a very simple question: have you prepaid your funeral? And they may say to you, well, yes, we have. We went down to Sheddinger Funeral Home about 5 years ago, and we picked out our casket, and everything is prepaid. At that point, the next question that I'm going to ask them is, do you have any money that you know you would like to have protected from a nursing home in the event that you went in and have it paid out to a particular beneficiary? If they tell me yes, then I'm going to use the estate planning trust, because I can put up to $100,000 per spouse into this trust, and after it's sat in there for 5 years, it's 100% protected from a nursing home spend down. So again, if they've got the funeral prepaid, we can use this. If they don't have their funeral prepaid and they just want to use this trust, they will have the choice, their family will, when they pass away, that they could have the first amount that they need to pay for the funeral come out of this trust, and then any excess funds are going to go to a designated beneficiary of the estate. So again, this one gives you the opportunity to name a beneficiary to the plan. So when I do the IMES agent summits that she was talking about earlier that we're doing in Texas next month or in March, I'll get agents who ask me, well, John, when do I use which trust? And you're going to see on the next slide that it's going to really come down to two things. It's going to come down to, are we in crisis planning? If we are, and we're just trying to get money off the table immediately, that funeral expense trust is a great way to get $15,000 per spouse here in Ohio off the table. Maybe they're going through money right now. Maybe one of the spouses is in the nursing home and they're seeing that they're spending through their assets, and Medicaid may be possible within 5 years. We can actually write this plan on the at-home spouse and the spouse that's in the nursing home, and we don't even have to see the spouse that's in the nursing home. The at-home spouse can sign for them, and we can get that $30,000 protected. But sometimes I do a lot of in-office appointments and seminars where we have clients come into the office, and I'll go through, and you know what? They just want their funeral expenses paid for. They just want to know the money's protected, they're healthy, they just want to be done with it. And again, it's a great plan to use for that as well. But sometimes you'll get people where Medicaid is a non-issue, and I like to use a couple teachers of mine that are clients. I'm actually seeing them tomorrow, and they are almost 5 years through their look-back period. So when I met them 5 years ago from a seminar, I shared this concept with them, and they said, hey, we're never buying long-term care insurance. We just want to put $100,000 each away into this plan and know if everything went to heck in a handbasket that our kids are at least going to get this $200,000 plus growth. So they just wanted to transfer money easily to their children. But sometimes you'll have people who will say, well, you know, I'm going to leave money to my church, and where that's a very noble thing to do. What your clients don't understand is if they go, most of them are leaving it through a will. So they'll put in the will, hey, you know, my bequest to my church is $10,000. But what they don't understand is if they get sick and go to a nursing home and are forced to spend all their assets and their wealth, that money's never going to see the charity. So if they have a particular amount in mind that they know they want to go to the charity, this is a great tool to say, hey, let's get the money in there today, let's name the charity as the beneficiary, and let's make sure that if you do get sick in the future, you know that your wishes are fulfilled. And this is a really great opportunity. You can pick up some pretty big plans using the estate planning trust. So let's talk a little bit about the product we use to fund the trust. It's called the NGL Asset Guard, and it's really just a fixed rate life insurance product. So in other words, it's not like your traditional single premium life where you put in $15,000 and they give you a $25,000 death benefit. If you put $15,000 in this plan, you may end up with $15,250 starting out as a death benefit, but they're going to pay you simple interest and credit it daily so that the money continues to grow, and it gives you that financial protection for final expense planning. So every state's a little bit different on their limits, and I'll share this with you so that if you're in a state that has a low limit on the funeral trust, I'll show you how you can still pick up some pretty nice cases with a different strategy using the estate planning trust. So on this, you'll see here, if you look at Ohio, you'll see that we have $15,000 we can put in the funeral trust and $100,000 in the estate planning trust. Now, the total you can put as a combination in Ohio is $100,000. So if I've already done a $15,000 funeral trust with a client, and now they say, hey, we've got some money we want to protect from the nursing home, I can put $85,000 into the estate planning trust. So a combination of 100. If you get more than that, please reach out to IMES. Sometimes we can get an exception to that. But let's take a look at somebody who may live in a state. Let's look at Nebraska, where IMES is located at. In Nebraska, you can put $4,916 in a funeral trust. Well, if we know a funeral is $15,000, that's really not helping the client solve the whole problem. So if I were in Nebraska, I would say to the client, let's put $4,916 in there and get it protected immediately, and then let's put $10,000 in the estate planning trust and get the 5-year clock ticking. So you can still get the job done for them. You're just going to have to take a little bit of a different angle. Now, if you lived in Florida where you can't even do the funeral trust, then again, I'm going to use the same concept with the client. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Florida's tough on protecting money day one, but don't let that deter you, because we can still put $15,000 into the estate planning trust. Granted, we have a 5-year look back, but we all know how quickly 5 years goes by. Let's get the plan done and get the money protected for you. And the advantage with that is if there is anything left over, it can be named to a beneficiary if you're using the estate planning trust. So the next slide there, that shows you everything that the irrevocable funeral trust will pay for. So you can see that pretty much everything that you would be dealing with a funeral is going to be covered under those expenses for the irrevocable funeral trust. I want to share with you something I had happen to me this past summer. I was actually in Nebraska at a meeting with IMES. We had went out to play golf one day. I got a call from a client of mine here in Columbus, and she said, hey, my mom passed away, and the funeral home will not proceed even with the viewing until I give them a check. And John, the money that we're using for that is in the funeral trust. Well, what I did is we immediately called National Guardian Life. National Guardian Life faxed over the claim paperwork, and the claim paperwork was there within a half hour, and the funeral home went ahead because they knew that they were getting the money within 48 hours of the claim paperwork being submitted back to the company. So it's they're very effective in getting the job done when your client needs it the most. So today, because in our practice, we only use single pay, I'm just going to focus on that with you today. So in a single pay plan, the minimum face amount is $500. Again, the maximum face amount is $100,000, and it's a combination of the two, or just if you're using the estate planning trust, it's $100,000 into that. You'll pick your client's growth rate. You can give them up to 2.25% interest credited daily simple. And there's only one health question on the application, and everybody is going to qualify. So it's not one of those deals where you're out there and you spend your time with the client and you find out that, oh, gosh, I'm not going to be, they want to do it, but I can't get it done for them. Every plan is going to get approved. And the beautiful thing on the next slide you'll see is you can write it from age 0 to 99. So even if you had some clients who had grandchildren they were fond of, you could say to that client, hey, you know what? Let's put $5,000 on each one of the grandchildren. While they're not going to use it for a very long time, with that interest being credited daily, think of what that'll grow to later on in their life, and what a loving thing to do for your grandchildren. So again, 0 to 99. And then we have one health question. And that health question is really simple. You're going to see it. It says, if your client answers no, then they are going to be a standard issue. If they answer yes, they are going to be a guaranteed issue. So you'll see that on the next slide, and then we'll move on to the next one. So how they do this, again, it's increased benefit with interest credited daily. If they pass away with a single pay, it's going to be an immediate full death benefit. So you don't have to worry about it, you know, I'm only getting so much, I got a time period. No, if they did it and a month later they pass away, 100% of that money is going to be paid out. And so if you don't like paperwork, you are going to absolutely love this plan. So it couldn't be easier to do. You basically have 2 pieces of paper and your state replacement form, and you're done. And I like to look back on this. When I first got into the business, I started in the annuity business. I wrote my first annuity in 1993. I was sitting in a dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. It was a $25,000 fixed rate annuity. I remember like it was yesterday. And the amazing thing was, it was 3 pieces of paper to do the application, and the last page was the receipt that I was leaving with the client. So, you know, if you look at what's going on now, when you go to do an application, I don't care if it's life insurance, an annuity, a long-term care contract, we're dealing with 30, 40, sometimes 45 pieces of paper. This one is very simple. And so this is what the top of the application looks like. You're filling out all their basic information. You're going to answer their health question. Then if we go to the next slide, you'll see on the bottom, the client is just going to sign off. You're going to sign off, put your agent number on there. If you go to the second page that you're going to use, that one's going to be the receipt that you can leave for the client if they give you cash with the app. Then on the next page, this is going to be the disclosure. We're showing you the funeral expense trust disclosure. If you're selling the estate planning trust, there's a different disclosure for that. So you're going to go down the bottom, have the client sign that. And then at the next page you're going to see, which could become very important in your practice, if you meet with someone who says, hey, we need to get this money protected immediately. We can't wait for 45 days after it's issued for this to go into the irrevocable trust. They can waive on here that they want to waive the 45 days and they want this policy to go into that irrevocable trust the day it's issued. And that becomes very important if you're trying to qualify for Medicaid and you can't wait the 45-day period. The company gives you the option to be able to do that. So when we're presenting this to clients, it's going to be real simple. We're going to ask every client that we present it to a simple question. Have you prepaid your funeral? It's a yes or no question. And so what I would recommend to any agent who's never dealt with this before is, obviously you want to get licensed through IMS with National Guardian Life. You want to go on their website. You want to read the disclosure, learn the product, ask any additional questions you need to feel comfortable going out to see a client. But start with annual reviews, and here's why I say that. If it were me and I had never seen this product before, and it's actually the way I started selling it, 14 years ago, I had a pretty good base of clients, and I would just go out to them to do an annual review, and I'd say, hey, Mrs. Jones, would you agree that all the things that I've recommended to you before have worked out exactly the way that I told you they would? Well, I knew what their answer was going to be. It was going to be yes, I was selling fixed annuities. And they would say, well, oh, yeah, John. And I'd say, well, there's something that we didn't cover that's very important that's been brought to my attention that I'm now sharing with all my clients, and I'm going to show you how to get that done. And I'm going to ask you a question. Have you prepaid your funeral? And if they tell me no, I'm going to go into that. If they tell me yes, I'm going to say, well, hey, it's a great tool to protect money from a nursing home. Let's look and see what we can do for you. Then I'm going to present that. I'm going to talk about the benefits of planning ahead. I can use my own father as an example. And one of the agents at one of the academies said, well, John, I don't have that story. I said, sure you have that story. We're friends now. You tell them you've got a very good friend and you share my story with them, and it'll still hit home with them. You tell them it can be used with any funeral home, like I shared with you earlier. And here's a big thing I will say to you. If you're an agent and you've got a bunch of clients, you're probably like I was back before I learned about this. If clients had those old life insurance policies that they brought out, and the ones I'm talking about, they smelled like must because they'd been keeping them down in their file or in their safe, and you just kind of brushed it aside. Your clients don't understand that when they pass away, they don't get the death benefit and the cash value from their life insurance policy with 99% of the plans out there. They get whatever number is bigger. So let me give you an example of a case we worked on. We had a client that had $12,000 in cash value in an old paid-up life policy. The death benefit was $13,000. When we explained to them that if they got sick and went in a nursing home, they were going to have to spend the $12,000 in cash value, which was their money, they quickly realized that if they transferred that into the irrevocable funeral trust, it would become 100% protected. Yes, they were giving up $1,000 a death benefit, but they were protecting $12,000 that would eventually go to a nursing home if they got sick. So these 1035 exchanges, if your clients have old policies, have them pull them out, put them on speakerphone, call the company, find out the cash value and the death benefit, and share that story with your client, and you'll find that you can do a lot of 1035 exchanging from existing life policies. And again, we get paid to close any sale in this business. You're going to give that client the peace of mind of knowing that they've planned ahead and that their funds are protected, and that's good for everybody. So where do you find the money? Here's the beautiful thing. When I'm talking to a client, what I will say to them is, you know what, Mrs. Jones, if you really think about it, and we're being honest with each other, we're really not even buying anything today. We're taking money that's unprotected that we have set aside for our funeral, and we're moving it into something that's protected from a nursing home to pay for our funeral. That's all we're doing. So if I ask them, have you prepaid your funeral? And they say no, and I say, well, what would you pay that from? They say, well, my daughter knows I have a CD over at the bank with $15,000 for my funeral. I'm going to say, well, do we leave it at the bank, and if you get sick, you have to spend it at a nursing home? Or do we take the same $15,000, probably get you a better interest rate, move it into the irrevocable funeral trust, protect the money, and know it's going to be there when your family needs it most when you pass away, because that's what you've designated it for. If you're an annuity producer and you've got all those annuities out there that you've been paid commission on, and I think the stat is 93% of all annuities get passed on to the beneficiaries. People don't take the money back out of them. Do penalty-free withdrawals. Yeah, do you have to pay the tax on the interest? Yes. I'd rather pay tax on interest and start protecting my money than have it all go to a nursing home. Believe me, your clients feel the exact same way. So with National Guardian Life, they've got some really nice marketing brochures. The two that we use the most are the NGL Funeral Expense Trust and the Estate Planning Trust. One of my favorite stories to show you the simplicity of these brochures and how client-friendly they are. Met with a client close to our office. They had their money with Nationwide Insurance. I went in, I did my whole sales presentation, and we were done. She looked at me and she said, well, John, you know we've bought these annuities from you and we don't make any rash decisions. So you know we need to think about it. And I told them, I said, well, you know how I work. I don't mind when people think about it because I think you should digest the information and go through your process. But I also believe you need to make that decision while you have all the information fresh on your mind. So I'm going to call you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you for an answer one way or the other. And I gave her the brochure. 9 o'clock the next morning, my phone rang, and she said, hey, John, we read through the brochure you left. We want to go ahead and set the appointment to move the money into the plan. So, again, the brochure's great. It'll do the job. And then the planning guide that you're seeing here, I was always taught by my mentor, whenever I did a sale in a house, was try to leave the client a task to keep them busy while I was getting the work done to bring their policy back to them. So what we do is we leave them this planning guide. This is offered through National Guardian Life. I don't believe they charge for them. You can just order them. But what I do with a client is I'll say, hey, Mrs. Jones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get your policy issued with National Guardian Life. It's a very quick process. I'm going to be back out here within the week with your policy. But while I'm gone, what I want you to do is I want you to fill out this planning guide. Now, this planning guide you're looking at, had I had this for my father and he had had a National Guardian Life policy, I could take the policy and this guide into a funeral director, hand it to him without ever meeting the person that has the plan and the guide, and the funeral director could take care of their funeral because it's all the questions that I didn't have answers for my father. So that's the first part of the planning guide. If you go to the next slide, this is the second part. And I tell my client, this is your task while I'm gone, and I'm a stickler for you getting this completed. And so they'll sit down, they'll take time. You will get ones when you bring the contract back that haven't completed it, but that is what it is. You just reiterate how important it is to them to get it done. So one of the things I'm going to say to you about National Guardian Life, and you'll see on the next slide how strong they are financially. I've been doing business with them for over 14 years, and it's one of the few companies I can tell you this. I've never had one issue with them, not one. Not getting money, not paying a claim, not paying me my commission, never a problem. So I'm an advocate for them because if they tell you something, you can take it to the bank. It's exactly the way that it's going to go down. So I think that's really important when you're dealing with the company that you're relying on for your client, but again, you're also using it as a revenue model for your business. Once you become licensed with National Guardian Life through IMS, what they will do is they will give you access to the website. The website is awesome. You can pull You can pull your applications. You can get your you can download your presentation for a client-facing appointment. One of the things I love the most about them is if I were to write an application today on a client, and we do everything through our business on a 2-day mailing model so we can track stuff. But if I was to do it today, and it wasn't a holiday, they would get it on Wednesday, and Thursday my commission would be in my account. At the latest Friday, but typically Thursday it would be in my account, because everything's getting issued. As long as your paperwork's in good order, you're going to get paid. So it's beautiful product. It's a great company. If you look there, they have a 1-800 number. If you're in a client appointment, you can call them directly and they'll walk you through anything that you need to know or any questions that you might have. So why would you sell this product in your business? Well, I just showed you the stats. Your clients need it. They're thinking about it. It's a great income opportunity for your business. The trusts are free, so there's no fees. And the chances are there's no other professionals that are advising your clients. We always ask our clients, has anyone ever talked to you about an irrevocable funeral trust? I've never had a client tell me yes, ever. They only know go to the funeral home. The funds are totally portable. This is where you can talk to them about, hey, you know, if you go do it at a funeral home, yeah, you can do that. Chances are you won't, because most people, the statistics show us they won't. But this way we can get the job done for you and you don't have to leave the house. We're using a great company. Gives your clients that peace of mind. And if you hate paperwork, you'll love doing business with National Guardian Life. So let's talk about compensation a little bit. And I just use this because I know if you're in this business and you're like me, you like your downtime. So I just used working 10 months out of the year, working with 20 couples on the annual reviews and just doing $10,000 on each of them of premium. It's going to generate at a minimum $40,000 to your annual bottom line. When I started using this, my mentor said, hey, try to create enough revenue off of this to pay for your office expenses. And so that's exactly what we count on every year, is that we know both of our offices, the leases are going to be paid, everything will be taken care of, and that's one worry that we don't have. We've got income to operate our business just by doing something we should be doing on a daily basis anyway, which is offering this to our clientele. So if you look at the top left-hand box, once you're licensed, you'll get a schedule. This is giving a client a 2% growth rate on the plan. And if you look at age 61 to 65, say you went out and did a review with a couple, and I'll just use here in Ohio, I did $30,000, so I did $15,000 on each spouse. You can see there, that's a pretty good payday. That's almost $4,000 in commission for going out, helping the client, explaining to them what they should be getting done anyway, and putting the plan in place and getting compensated for my review time. It's a beautiful way to get compensated for what you should be doing anyway, which is your client reviews. So this was their trip that they had. They're getting ready to go on. Been on their producer conferences. They're top notch. They treat you like gold. One of the things I'm going to say about producer conferences is, whether it's this one or you were fortunate enough to make the IMES conference in Naples that they're going to be having here in the middle of the year, every time I went, since I was young in this business, I would always seek out the top producers. I was never intimidated by them because they're some of the nicest people you're ever going to meet, and they're willing to share with you what they do to get to that top spot. And I always figured if I could talk to a few of the top producers and then take a couple things they're doing and put it into my business, it's how I got to where I am today. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I do know how to seek out the people who are, and then just copy it and implement it into my business. So they're going to be releasing their new sales conference information here, I think they said within about the next week or two for the 2020 conference. So what are the biggest challenges? Obviously, getting comfortable with the concept. You know, when I sold my first annuity in 1993, two things. I couldn't believe I sold it. I couldn't believe someone would let me walk out of their business with a check for $25,000. Today, We've done millions and millions and millions of dollars of annuity premium. I could teach classes on it. Again, it's not because I'm the smartest. It's just because of repetition and day in and day out working with clients. So I'm going to stress the benefits of pre-planning, and I'm going to keep this on the top of my mind. Every client, every day. It's not a hard question, have you prepaid your funeral? You just need to remember to ask the question. You can go on to the next one. There we go. So if you become licensed through IMES with National Guardian of Life, I created this guide for beneficiaries quite a few years ago. And the reason I did it is I had a girl call me who said, hey, John, I wanted to let you know Mom passed away. And I said to her, well, hey, once you get through the funeral and everything, we need to set an appointment because I had about $500,000 of annuity with her, and I wanted to work with the daughter. And she said, oh, John, don't worry about it. We already talked to the guy at the bank, and he said he'll handle all that for us. So I determined I wasn't going to let that happen again. So I developed this guide for beneficiaries, and what we did is we went out in the field, and over about a 6-month period, we wrote $1.5 million in additional annuity premium, about about 200,000 in single premium life, and 150,000 with National Guardian Life. And so when I share this with you, if you become licensed with National Guardian Life through IMES, we'll make this available to you. You'll just have to format it to your company's information. So what you'll see here, this is what it looks like. We go out and we give this to our clients. When we deliver it to them, we just say, hey, you know what, we want to make sure if something happens to you that your beneficiaries know who to call, and that also they have a guide in here of things that they're going to need to take care of. So what I did is I created this letter that is at the beginning of the guide, and it just tells them that we value their business, that we've got a team of professionals that we can rely on for good information, and they can be confident of a job well done, and I personally guarantee their satisfaction. So then on the next page, we do a financial organizer with them, and what we say to them is kind of like we say with the National Guardian Life Funeral Trust and that planning guide, is we say, hey, if we update all your financial information and you have this guide, we could help settle your estate without ever meeting you. But what the guide does, it allows you to really get more detailed about their family and about their finances. And you may have some great clients that you think tell you everything. I got news for you. We found out through writing all of that additional business that our clients do not tell us everything. So this allows to bring all that stuff to the table for you. So if you go on to the next page, you're going to see their question 8. It says, have you prepaid your funeral? Now, if they say yes, we're going to say, well, hey, do you have any money that you know you would like to have protected from a funeral home that you're not going to use during your lifetime, and you want to go to, or not a funeral home, sorry, a nursing home, and that you'd like to go to a particular beneficiary? If they say, yeah, we're not launching into a sales pitch, we're going to make a note, and we'll circle back around. If they say they haven't prepaid their funeral, again, we're not going to launch into a sales pitch, but now we know that we've got a good opportunity for a sale in there. So again, that's the financial organizer. There's the last page of the financial organizer. We have a notes section in there in case you need to have any notes put on it. It's worked out well for us. I can't tell you how much this product has brought to our business just by offering it to our clients. If you have any questions now, I'd certainly be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to put out one last poll question while we get some questions answered. And the last poll question is, would you like to get contracted with National Guardian Life? If you check yes, we'll be more than happy to get you contracted if you're already contracted with us. If you're not, we'll be happy to send you out some contracting paperwork. Wanted to remind everyone that you will receive a recorded version of this webinar, so you'll have that later on this afternoon. So if you need to re-review anything, you're more than happy to do that. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have, get out any additional information that you may need. Again, my name is Sandy with obviously with IAMS. And then John is a great resource. Just give us a call, and if for some reason, we need to get in contact with John, of course, he'll be happy to answer those questions as well. It looks like you did such a great job, John, that there's no additional questions right now. Again, if you think of any, we'll be happy to get those answered. Thank you so much for everyone taking time out of their schedule on this Monday morning. So greatly appreciate it. I hope everyone has a safe, healthy, and happy week. Thank you again. Bye-bye.